Hey guys, John Paulamy here, Actionable Intelligence. Today is Monday, September 7th, Labor Day, and I just wanted to take a few minutes and answer some viewer questions. These are some questions I get a lot of questions on the comments in the YouTubes. People email me, people hit me up on Twitter. And so these are some questions that I've gotten recently, and I just wanted to touch on them, see if I could help some folks out. So, first of all, why do you recommend stocks on foreign exchanges? Somebody wrote in and asked me that and said I should just stick to US stocks. Well, why would I limit myself to just the United States? Doesn't make any sense. You know, it's 2020, we have the internet. I can connect with just about anybody around the world that has an internet connection and a smartphone. This has enabled people of all walks of life, people that didn't have access before, to talk with others, to discuss ideas, to trade with each other. And literally, you can now make the world your oyster. I've said this before. It should be obvious even from the interview we did with Scott Osheroff. He's a perfect example. A guy that's out there from the U.S. and left right after university and has been all over Southeast Asia where really the action is going forward. So, you know, I'm trying to expand my horizons. I'm trying to find value wherever it is. And it's not necessarily in the United States only. So I think that that's myopic is how you pronounce it, I guess. It's not a good idea to do that. I don't want to call it stupid, but it is kind of stupid. You're limiting yourself. Why would you do that? So the problem is how do you buy, don't many of the foreign stocks trade in the U.S.? This is what I want to talk about. There are many good Canadian or Australian natural resource stocks and many that trade in London. In order to trade those, you're going to need a brokerage account with a broker that will allow you to access those exchanges. Now, a lot of times you will see that there is an over-the-counter listing. It's usually four-letter symbol for a foreign stock that trades in the U.S. And people they ask me, well, shouldn't I just trade those? And I don't recommend you do that. And here's why. If you trade on the home exchange, let's say there's an Australian mining company that you like and it has a listing here in the U.S., it's on the over-the-counter market, you will notice that the volume is not that high and the liquidity in the name is not that high. Why is this important? Because if you're trying to build up a position in a company or in a stock and you're doing it of a foreign company on the U.S. exchanges, an over-the-counter exchange, it's going to take you a while to build it up, and the spreads are going to be very wide between bid and ask. That's number one. Number two, if you need to get out of the stock, the liquidity is not there, and you will be forced to take a huge haircut if you can even sell the stock. I learned this myself painfully many years ago. That is why I use brokerage firms that allow me to trade on the home exchanges of these companies. It's not hard to do. It's just a matter of filling out the paperwork, and you're allowed to have more than one brokerage account. So you may just want a brokerage account that is convenient for you to use or you've had for a while, but it doesn't allow you to have access to these other markets. Then I would suggest you open another account with another brokerage firm that does allow you to have access to those markets. That's my suggestion. What broker do you use to buy stocks on foreign exchanges? Well, I use Interactive Brokers. I think it puts people off not to use it because I believe they do have a minimum account size. Maybe it's 10,000. I don't remember. But, I mean, you have access to like 30 markets. And the other knock on Interactive Brokers is, well, it's not easy to use or it's more difficult to use. Well, I mean, you just have to go through and do the tutorials or play around with it. The advantage is the fees are very low. And the fills, I've never had a problem getting filled, and you get access to all these markets. I mean, you can even trade in India, Japan, Russia now, many markets that you wouldn't normally have access to. Not that I necessarily use it, but I do trade stocks in London and Australia And there's a lot of value there. And you just, it just doesn't make sense not to be able to access that. And like I said, going back to the original point, why do I want to just be trying to buy a foreign stock on a U.S. Over-the-counter exchange with no liquidity? It just doesn't make sense. So if you can access it, that's what I suggest you do. Interactive Brokers. Now, Fidelity, you can buy. They have pretty decent ability to buy foreign stocks. Ameritrade, not so much. I don't really know because I use the other ones, but Fidelity I have used to like access the Polish Warsaw market. It's very easy. It's all done online. I think when they first started, I had to call in, but now everything can be done online. It's just a matter of you have to wake up early, if you're in the U.S. to access some of these markets, or stay up late, depending on what market you're trying to trade. Now, I do talk about a lot of investing I do in these small emerging and frontier markets, i.e. Central Asian markets, Mongolia, and some of the stands. And you basically have to have connections so you can get an introduction to a brokerage firm. Typically, I've been able to set up those accounts through the mail, like in Kyrgyzstan or Uzbekistan. Traveling to Mongolia, I was able to do the setup there and just walk the paperwork through. Took about a few hours, if I recall. But anyways, you shouldn't really be trying to get involved in those markets unless you have, a lot more money than probably the average person. So I think if you get yourself an Interactive Brokers account, you will have access to quite a few markets and expand your ability to access some of the ideas that we're talking about. Now here's another one. Here's one I get all the time, and I got one last night, so I figured I'd address this. And these are all paraphrased. I didn't put the exact questions down, but these are basically the ideas. This third bullet point, it seems to take longer than estimated for perception changes to take place in certain sectors you recommend, i.e. uranium. Would it not be better to just wait for the stocks to clearly break out and then buy them? So this is the problem that we run into when we are dealing with deep value, contrarian type ideas. We can do the research, we can come up with a thesis of why we think that the particular industry or resource sector that we're talking about is going to change. What we think is going to be the perception change, the catalyst to affect that change. The thing that we can't get is the timing. That is what's most difficult. And so what happens is you say, okay, let's use uranium for an example. We know the thesis: lower supply, higher demand, lack of investment in new mines, all these type of things, the COVID situation knocking down the supply even further. So people get impatient, people get bored. And so they're like, why am I seeing this? And then when boredom sets in, there's no news and no movement, then liquidity starts to dry up, people drift away to the new flashy object, and then you see these stocks start to sag in price. And then that begets more boredom and more angst, and then more people exit. So you have a situation where if you have a thesis and the thesis hasn't changed, the price can go down, some cases substantially, and yet the prospects for the business going forward are still the same or better. And this is where we get into. You just do not know the timing of when this thing's going to kick in. And I can give, countless examples. I'm not going to. Gold market's a perfect example. Everybody's hot on gold and silver now. A few years ago, when I brought up gold and silver, people laughed. So what you have to do in these sectors, if you want to be successful, is you have to come up with a thesis. You have to make sure it's logical. You have to write it down. You have to constantly go over it, make sure that that nothing's changed, that you think it's correct, that you think you're going to, that this is mispriced. And then you need to find companies that you think can take advantage of that with good managements. And then you have to slowly accumulate. That's what I do. I accumulate, buy additional tranches, especially if the stock goes down. Then I constantly reevaluate my thinking. Is anything changed here? Has something changed that's why this thing isn't moving like I think it is? Or is it just because, the catalyst hasn't kicked in yet? The perception change hasn't come. The phase change, if you will, from water to ice or water to steam. When you're boiling, so if you stand there and watch a pan of water boil, it doesn't seem like anything's happening for a while. And then all of a sudden you get to that 212 degrees Fahrenheit, and then the steam it starts boiling almost immediately, and then you start getting a steam production. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that these things take time. They take longer than we think they're going to take in many cases. There's an opportunity cost to that. What's opportunity cost? Well, if you're sitting there for 2-3 years waiting for something to happen, then you don't have the use of those funds to do other things. But that's the game. And that's why a lot of people aren't successful in it. And that's why a lot of people don't play in it, because it's not easy and it is hard and it is emotionally taxing. And I just can't give you any other answer. Now, if you want to get cute and try to time it, people do that also. You can wait for a breakout, but will you know when the breakout comes? Then will you say to yourself, this is what happens. I've had people tell me this, that do this, or have tried to do this. The breakout comes, and then they miss the initial surge, because when these breakouts come, they usually happen pretty violently to the upside or the downside on a downside break. And then what people do is they freeze in the headlights. Well, I missed the initial breakout, darn it. I'll wait for it to pull back, and then it doesn't really pull back, and then they wait for the pullback. Next thing you know, this thing's ran away from them, either on the upside or downside. So I think the best thing to do that I've found, or it works for me, is to, like I said, figure out a market, resource, country, whatever, something that I think is mispriced, build a position, and then just wait, and then constantly evaluate the situation to see if my original thinking has changed or if circumstances have changed. If circumstances change, then you have to sell. But if they don't, then you just got to wait. You just got to sit there and grind it out on your leather butt. And it's not fun. It's boring. People want to feel like they're doing something. But I'm just here to tell you from my experience, that just isn't the way to do things. So I don't know. Each person has to go through that process themselves. Everybody's different. That's all I can tell you on that. So another couple people wrote in and said, I think there's some confusion on some things. They're like, one guy was like, what do I get if I subscribe to the Actionable Intelligence Alert newsletter? Well, it's a email delivered newsletter that comes out once a month. I put a model portfolio in there. Those are things in that portfolio that I own, that I am doing, that I actually own. Then what I do is if I come up with a new idea, and most of the time I do, but sometimes I don't, because sometimes there's nothing new ideas out there to talk about, I do reviews. I review based on company news or changes in events in these industries, and kind of give updates. I spend a lot of time on the newsletter. The average newsletter probably runs, 15 plus pages and close to 4,000 words. I include graphs, pictures, snippets from company presentation, all kinds of stuff. So I can talk about macro themes. I might talk about company specific or industry themes or specific countries or ideas. So it goes all over the place. But basically, we're looking to buy things for $1 and then sell them for $10 at some point in the future. That's basically the theme. So it's for speculation. If you want to create a long-term retirement plan or a child's education fund, this is not the area you should be in. This is for creating wealth, okay, and speculating. So it's a lot more risk involved, okay? And it goes back to the previous bullet point. That's going to require a lot of patience. It's going to require a lot of self-introspection. So that's kind of the deal on that. Now the Patreon support, I want to give people an opportunity to support the YouTube channel and the work I do there. Or just my general work. People don't want to subscribe, they still want to support. So you can go to the Patreon channel as an incentive to supporting me on Patreon for like $5 a month. If you do that, I give you one of the most current stock picks that I've done in the newsletter. That doesn't mean you get a new stock pick every month. It's kind of confusing for some folks. You don't get a stock pick every month. You get one stock pick as a thank you gift, as a way to analyze my writing style and what I'm doing in the newsletter. That's what the purpose of the Patreon gift is. But a lot of people support me on Patreon, and they just want to support me because of the work that I do. They're gracious people. So that's an open opportunity. The other way you can support me and support me being able to get good guests on. I mean, I just had Dr. Michael Kelly on, who's a retired professor from Cambridge University. You know, whether you agree with the content or not, I'm getting very good guests, I believe, on the interview series. And what attracts them or convinces them to come on is that we have a large or not super large, but it's a growing set of subscribers and people that listen to the interviews. So if you want to support me without spending any money, because that's everybody's prerogative, I mean, subscribe to the channel, comment, I mean, do things like that, pass on the videos to other folks, because the interaction on the channel is what the YouTube algorithm looks at. So it'll put the videos in more people's in front of more people. It will suggest that they watch it. The channel will continue to grow, and the more we grow, the better and more guests we can get on, and hopefully make it more enjoyable for you, the listeners. I mean, I do talk a lot of smack. I realize that, and I'm set in my ways, but I do appreciate the listeners. I do listen to most people that have constructive criticism. I don't maybe not necessarily do everything that people suggest, but I do listen and I do consider it. So I do appreciate the viewers. I do appreciate the subscribers. It's not for everybody, and that's fine. There's 7 billion people in the world, and you're not going to please them all. So this was it for the questions. If anybody else has any more questions, you can put them in the comment sections of the YouTube videos, or you can email me, and I will put my email address in the video notes below. All right, that's it for today. Thanks, guys. Talk to you next time.